ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, an initiative by ET Edge. On this platform, we identify leaders and talk about their personal and professional journeys. And we also discuss about the traits, their qualities, and their thought processes that make these leaders stand out of the industry across different sectors and verticals. I'm Dimple Bajwa, your host for this session. Today, I have been joined by a very special guest who has close to 2 decades of experience and specializes in customer acquisition, operations, and supply chain. Without further ado, let me now welcome Mr. Nikhil Anand, Senior Vice President, Operations, NLB Services. Thank you for joining us, Nikhil. It is a pleasure to have you on our platform. I'm really looking forward to a great interaction with you today.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
All right. So, we will focus more on your personal side today. Let me start by asking you about your days in school. How were you as a student in school, and what aspirations did you have back then? And who did you look up to when it came to mentoring? Who was your mentor at that point of time?
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I'll take it one at a time. I was, of course, not an ideal kid that the teachers would want to see. Definitely, uh, definitely not the brightest one out there. Academically, I was just kind of okay, but uh, and everything kind of revolved around having fun. So of course, the school days were pure fun based. I think one of the greatest things that I remember from school was waiting for the bus at the bus stop with the rest of the kids, and that 30 minutes of that wait time and that half an hour ride to the school. I think that was brilliant. Everybody from different seniors, juniors, they're all having fun going there. So school was a lot of fun for me personally. Mentors, you know, I did, from the structures and the family structures and that we grew up in, there was no formal mentor or a role leader that we were
Mhm.
looking up to, or I was personally looking up to. I think their learning came from everybody around us, from different people taught us different things, from teachers to parents to seniors. And I think it was more experience based learning. So nothing necessarily that not no one individual that I can point finger and say, hey, this individual was my role leader or a mentor of sort.
Right. And what aspirations did you have back then? I mean, did you know that you always wanted to follow the paths that you are following right now, or how did you start? And I mean,
Oh,
just make us go
absolutely
through
not.
that path.
Absolutely not. I had no clue what I'd be doing. So, like I said, like any average kid out there. So there are two kinds of kids, right? One who would know when they are 8 years old that they want to be an astronaut. That's
Right,
a
right.
part of it. Then there are other kinds who know that what is the most important thing in life is to have fun. I I kind of learned that somewhere, and I think a lot of it came from my folks, my parents. While I was growing up, academics was a very important part of the life, but it wasn't the end of everything that we did. The more important thing from what I learned was to continue to have fun in whatever we choose to do. So nothing. It wasn't like structured thought. Ki, I want to do academically. I want to do this, and then probably pick up a certain line of profession. I started very differently in school. Schooling, I had seen within the family itself. My dad was initially in professional services. He was in customs.
Mhm.
Then he moved to manufacturing. So I had seen both sides of the world. The service sector, and I had seen the business side of the. I was exposed to both sides of the coin,
Mhm.
and like any other Indian family, the first expectation was ki this kid is going to finish his schooling, is going to finish his graduation and join his dad with in assisting in business. And I think I did give it a shot. Didn't really fly the way I expected, and I changed course somewhere midway,
Wow.
and started on this side, the journey
Right.
towards the professional side.
Right. So I'm assuming you were a very fun-loving person, and like you mentioned, having fun was a very important thing for you.
Even today, having fun is a very important aspect of everything that happens around. So yes.
Right, right. That's wonderful to know. So your career journey seems to be very interesting. You started as a resident expert with Genpact, and then you moved on to WLO as the operations manager, and then with the Quattro before you joined NLB Services, where you've been for the past 13 years now.
Yeah.
It would be great to hear from you about your career journey. How have you evolved over these years?
Oh, interesting. So I before I started with GE, I did certain small internships here and there. I was working as technology faculty with NIT in SouthX, which was for a very small period. They had these. They had a center or a segment of their business which was called CATS, which is Curriculum for Advanced Technologies, where they would call in these trainers, and we were expected to go out and train corporates. So I did some of those trainings for some of the corporates like Jindals, in Kosi, and Indian Oil, so on and so forth. But that was a very small stint, and then I, at some point, I think I figured that just to keep standing where I was standing, I had to keep running. And I had started to lose interest with technology, so I'd moved to Genpact. Back in the day, it was called GE. Then it became Jekis, and then Genpact. So I started their consumer finance for one of their service lines called GE Supply. Started at the grassroots, became a resident expert for them, and from there I got an opportunity to work with this set up operations for WLO, which was a mortgage bank in California. We did it under a brand name called XPO in India, and we ran the technology platform. We set up the entire back end operation for this mortgage bank, and the company just exited that business right before the subprime bust happened. Uh, the company got sold. It got acquired by Quattro, which is a Raman Roy company. They got entrusted in building a mortgage business, which was a little more than just lead generation.
Mhm.
Because so far, I think what mortgage has seen in India was just lead generation. Pick up the phone call, generate a lead, and pass it along to somebody sitting on
Right.
site and develop that. So we pioneered the entire transition of the process. We From origination of a loan all the way to the closing was done back in India, and then for funding it was sent back to the US, and they would fund the loan. So right before it busted, we exited. As a part of the transition, we moved. The entire team was also taken over, and I also moved with the organization with a 6-month contract with Quattro.
Mhm.
That was a part of I think, the acquisition deal that happened. So had to stick around. And once that was done, we were already thinking on lines of starting uh, consulting as a business, and that's where NLB Services got incubated. Uh, Somewhere in 2007 2008 timeframe. 2007 it started, and somewhere in that timeframe we
Mhm.
moved uh, from what we were doing to as a team. It was the same team. Most of the people, the founder Sachin, who's the founder of this company as well, NLB Services, we moved from uh, XPO to NLB Services, and the rest is history. We started small. It was like any other staffing out. We started out as a staffing outfit, as a small organization, and very small baby steps, building blocks, uh, and this is where we are today. About 7,500 people globally
Wow.
functioning. Yeah. So uh, Very
Right.
interesting journey. Very, very interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is. It is indeed very interesting, of course, and it is not easy to change roles, industries, and organizations. And there are times when people like 5 years into the job, they realize, okay, this is not what I wanted to do, and there's this passing thought in their minds that there's something else out there for me. What would you say to those people? I mean. Should they follow their aspirations, something that they want to do or realize after 5 years into an industry?
Absolutely. I would very strongly, one thing that I've seen, and this is more so in the newer generation, where I see um, the millennial, what we call them, right? So
Right.
uh, they run out of patience pretty fast. They want to jump the jobs. I see these profiles come where the individual in a 4 year span has already changed two companies or three companies. And I
Right.
say, from where I see it, it takes at least 6 months for any individual to even get settled in an organization, to even know how to maneuver your ways around. Before you even learn, you get an opportunity to really settle in and grow and take it to the next level. They've
Hmm.
already changed, and in most cases I see they almost end up short selling themselves. Sometimes it's just for a small jump in their salary.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's absolutely for varied reasons sometimes. And I've seen people quitting their jobs and moving out of doing something
Hmm.
just because they wanted to go out on a vacation, and the
Wow.
business need was to have them stick around, and they did not want to. So all varied things. My 2 cents there would be, of course, follow your dreams. And it's very subjective. Like I said, there are kids at 8 years of age who know they want to become astronauts, and there are people at 45 who still have not figured out what they really want to do in life.
Right.
But um, but there is no right or wrong to that.
Hmm.
There's no subjective way of saying, or a black and white saying which one is which is right and which is wrong. None of them is wrong. They're all right. Just the more important part is to figure out, are you having fun in what you're doing? As long as you're enjoying whatever you're doing, I think you're going to be successful. You're going to stick around much more, and you will see success in the end.
Right, right. I believe it's very important to enjoy something that you're doing. And my next question is more on your leadership style and the leadership traits. You are a leader in your domain, and you have your set of qualities and traits. What leadership qualities do you have, that differs you from the other leaders? And what is that one leadership trait or that one leadership quality, one or two maybe, that you would want your subordinates to inherit from you?
Inclusive. uh, you know i have uh, I have seen leaders in with different, have different styles of leadership. And I don't define leadership for my leaders or managers who come together. I don't define their style of leadership. What I do expect is that lead by example, uh, stand up to uh, stand up to the task, roll up your sleeves and jump right in. Uh, don't leave don't leave anything in between. If you've started something, take it all the way to the end. And I think those are the two most important things that I look for, and the right attitude to go and deliver. Uh, One of the, like I said, inclusive, is a very. I'll just take a moment to kind of define it. Uh, Typically, there are two kind of leaders. One who walks in and almost dictates on what needs to be done, uh, and you can command that respect. You can almost demand it from somebody to come and respect you for what you're saying, because you have a title and because you have a legacy of 20 years. And typically people start by saying, because I have done 20 years of this, and because I have built this, I have the authority to come down and tell you what you need to do. In my opinion, I I personally do not follow something like that. One, what's in the past is already done.
Right.
That doesn't define your legacy to come down and command respect or be a leader in a certain zone just because you've done something in the past that became successful. I think what
Mhm.
is more important is uh, to explain it to an individual or a team member on in the ecosystem that exists, or in the life cycle of the product that you're creating or the service that you're offering. Where is that one individual fitting into that component? What component does he fit into in that
Mm.
entire life cycle? And more than often, I've seen that as people realize and they understand, and it could be anybody from the grassroots level in your organization going all the way to the top leadership. As long as that individual understands what is his contribution going to be in that entire life cycle, not just because he's doing a transaction, not just because he's doing this segment of work, but in the entire life cycle, where is he contributing and how is that going to impact the end service?
Mhm.
Why is his contribution of that 15-minute job that he does every day important in the end product? As long as he understands that, you will see that individual being more motivated, more productive, and more involved in what he's doing
Right.
versus just doing a 9 to 5. Um, and I want my leaders also to believe that. And of course, we've built a culture where everybody is inclusive in big or small decision that the organization makes as much as possibly we can.
Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, lead by example, stand up to your tasks, and don't leave anything in between. I think those are very interesting leadership qualities, and I think people should actually follow these things to lead teams when it comes to leading teams. So, my next question is that upskilling has become one of the most common term that we've been hearing the past 1 year. How have you been investing in upskilling or reskilling yourself or maybe your team?
Oh, okay. On personal front, I think, like I said, I wasn't the best guy in academics, and I'm surprised myself on how something turned. But I think somewhere during this journey, I got kind of interested in the books, in reading, uh, something that I completely missed out all the way through the academics. I think it was also to do with the way the education system, or what they have to offer. And I think
Mm.
whatever they were offering was not something that was very interesting to me or intriguing.
Mhm.
But I somewhere down the line that changed, and books for one, reading for once has become a very integral part of my everyday activity.
Mhm.
And there is no one single upskilling, or it's not that it's gone with a thought of really going out and upskilling, that hey, I want to pick this up and pick that up. And but there's over the years, with this interest towards gaining more knowledge and reading, uh, I think that automatic inherent benefit of reading has come with it, which kind of keeps me updated, upskilled all the time, if I may say. And since I'm more on the operations side, there's a lot of communication that is required, and it has to be more clear, more crisp, and should be termed as communication, not as dictation. And
Right.
I think that's where I have done. Uh, for the teams, also, I try and promote similar habits to go out and do that. Apart from, there are programs that LB Services as an organization sponsors for leaders to go out and take academic programs, executive programs, for upskilling themselves into multiple avenues, where let it be, whether it's operations, whether it's marketing, negotiations, so on and so forth, or technology for that matter. People want to go and upskill them on a certain technology. Fair enough. On those lines, LB Services, we launched another line of business for ourselves a couple of years back, which is called Next Level Learning, which also, and that's like it's a LB university of sort, that where we upskill the budding talent, if I
Mhm.
may say, to the latest technologies, and make them more able and more, so that they are, and not only on the technology side but also on the soft skills, so that they become more deployable on
Right.
flight sites, more interactive on flight sites. So that's a initiative that we've taken towards upskilling. And of course, personal is more personal.
Right, right. I think with the evolution of digitalization and things becoming so fast paced, it's become very important to upskill, especially on the digital front. And I also feel that soft skills have also they've come into they've started playing a major role in across different industries now. So that's very interesting to know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Soft skills. One of the major things that I see missing in a large population today, and we at least every individual that we touch at LB Services, I want to we want to promote communication as one of the most strongest tools in the soft skill front. Apart from
Mhm.
everything else, I think the very basis of everything else is communication. How you communicate is, and where, what, when to say is very important
Right.
aspect of learning and to expressing ourselves.
Mhm.
To really be able to articulate and really go back and express what you want to say and deliver helps on all the counts, whether it's managing the teams and groups and everything else, or managing client expectations,
Mhm.
or just working with the peers.
Right, right. I think that's the need of the hour. So I know there's a lot of work on your plate, most of the time, given the fact that you're a leader and you have to manage teams. But I would want to know, what are your hobbies and how do you fit those in your busy schedule?
uh, uh, so I love to do road trips a lot.
Mhm.
Uh, at every back in the day, there was on every 3 day weekend we would pack our bags and leave. Hit the road to kind of go anywhere. And to me, that's my yoga. Uh, just being behind the wheel
Mhm.
is yoga within itself for me. And like I said, I find time over the weekends.
Mhm.
Other than that, reading has consumes me a lot.
Mhm.
That's my solace, and I do find time uh, throughout the day. Once work is done, there is the family chores have been taken care of, and everybody's at rest where they should be. I think I find ample time for music and books. So that's
Wow.
that's me on the
That's
whole. And lastly, of course, with all of this, a very regular part of the routine is to work out.
Mhm.
I kind of make sure that also is a part of the everyday routine. Now all of these things put together, including work, becomes a part of the hobby. So it's uh, it's recreational. One recreates to the other one, and the other one to the other one. So when I get bored of reading books and listening to music or driving, then I'm working, and when that stops, then the rest of them start. So
Wow,
one.
that's really interesting to know. And between all these things, how do you maintain a work-life balance? I mean, how do you give time to your family, and what are the activities that you indulge in with your family, maybe on weekends, or maybe post-work hours?
Oh wow, that's a very interesting one. I When I'm traveling, it's very complicated. And there is some very exhaustive travel when it begins. Since we are an organization that's spread in the United States, we do coast to coast across the nation. We service the North Americas, which includes Canada, India. We also have an operation. So we've got clientele across the board. Now,
Mhm.
when the travel really happens, I'm just not available. Uh, but I
Right.
make sure that when I get back, I do take some time off, and we take a small, quick vacation with my wife and kids to anywhere, a destination of their choice, if I can put it like that. We spend some time. Now, one thing that does go even on those vacations is this computer and the phone. So unfortunately, even when that's a vacation, they don't get 100% attention. But to cover that up on a regular day, after the fifth day, which is the Friday, I almost switch off. Almost, if I'm already aware that there is something coming up over the weekend or some important meeting or calls or something, that's okay. Then I know what am I prepared for. But
Mhm.
outside of that, I almost disconnect from the phone uh, as far as possible. And that time is spent uh, playing games with the kids. Sometimes as simple as making them study. Sometimes cooking, cooking breakfast. So that's a very important part of everyday good morning session of cooking breakfast for the kids, and kind of almost going on YouTube and looking for something new and interesting, because kids they don't want to have the regular staple diet. It shouldn't feel like a
Right.
staple diet of what they're having, and they get interested in everything creative that you can do, and that creative could be as simple as making an omelette and then cutting it out in a certain shape. So so that kind of makes their day sometimes, and that's what that the entire day just goes by doing this. Saturday and then Sunday I spend time with, we kind of get together, go to our parents, spend the day, and then get
Mhm.
back in the evening. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that's very interesting to know, and it's really nice the way you opened up on your personal side. It was really interesting, and there are so many things that we need to learn from your experiences. And with that, we come to the end of this Cutting Try Stories interview. It was a very interesting and a very engaging conversation with you, Nikhil. Uh, but like all good things, have to come to an end this conversation too. In the interest of times, it was a great interaction with you. Thank you for answering all my questions. And it was really nice to have you on this platform. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, I would welcome Mr. Aditya Agarwal, the head large enterprises Lenovo India, to this conversation. Welcome to the conversation, Mr. Agarwal.
Thank you. My pleasure.
We're really happy and delighted to have you here, sir. So I have a question for you both here. What are the challenges faced by the industry in 2021? Is there any innovation that we see, and how do we get prepared for the upcoming years?
So I'll request Nikhil to address that first.
So nice, thank you. Oh, challenges in 2021. I think right before this, before we started the session, we were talking about pandemic, and I think that's one of the biggest uh, unforeseen challenge that has been faced not only by this industry but every industry out there. Not just purely technology, but I think every individual across the globe has been impacted in one way or the other, has lost their dear ones in one fashion or another. And they are that has changed. And of course, when it started in 2020, it was people were hoping that something's going to change towards the end of the year. There was a light at the end of the tunnel. People were almost hopeful that, and it did seem like that. It did seem towards the year end and the first quarter of 2021 that it's over, it's done. We are the pandemic is behind us almost. Before, yeah, and this was, while that glory, people were trying to enjoy that moment, it kind of hit again in right in the beginning of April. And the devastation that it caused was enormous. Some of the very some of the challenges, and Mr. Aditya, please feel free to chime in wherever you think. But I think one of the biggest challenges from where we see it is, one is the manpower availability. With this pandemic, what has seriously changed is a consistent availability of manpower for for regular services to be conducted. And that volatility of availability, that irregular availability leads to not so planned, the planning of how you want to deliver a certain product, how you want to deliver to client expectations gets impacted seriously. uh, Apart from just that, it also has psychological impact on employees, on people across the board. They have been impacted. They've not now An employee, while he is available for 8 hours a day to go out and do a job, his mind is not 100% there. He's not 100% available. He's either, and since we are all working from home, it's a virtual environment. um, there are other challenges that each individual has, and how they are coping up with those challenges, whether they are medical challenges with themselves or their family members, or their need of a physical space to go out and work, to do that. And that's a luxury that not everybody possibly has, to create a, our uh, family structures are such that there was never a need to create a work from home space. Uh, and lack of that, now that if there is a need and we are trying to cope up and catch up to that, it is still taking time. 1 year, 1.5 year down, we are still catching up to that. We are still psychologically catching up to how we need to work on a everyday 9 to 5 while I have my kids, my family, my other issues to be taken care of. And that impacts my client every day. So to me, these are, that's been one serious impact. And I don't foresee, of course, with vaccinations happening, a large part of the population gets vaccinated. We might overcome these challenges in few months or whenever that time is, but it's so unprecedented that nobody really knows. I can't really uh, comment. I can't write it on stone and give it. It's just wait and watch. But hopefully, with the large population getting vaccinated, we might be able to overcome these. But 2021 will still be a tough year for a lot of us. Innovation. I think the more and more utilization of cloud platforms, and there is a serious need for workforce management tools that are cloud based and also have ability. There are tools out there, but they still need a whole lot of refining, because while those tools do exist, they, as an organization, behavior, if I may say, we weren't really used to using those workforce management tools to their utmost potential, and a lot of them were server based or needed physical servers where they were installed and run on intranets and so on and so forth. Some of them. So, but there is going to be, we should expect some new technologies to come in for at least workforce management. I do foresee some of that coming in pretty soon.
Thank you, Nikhil. Aditya, your thoughts on the same?
Yes, I think what Mr. Nikhil said resonates true. The complexion may change across companies, but it is true. So let's talk about availability. Like he talked about availability, and there are industries which are people intensive, and that leads to a scarcity of the right people. In our case, the availability comes down to, let's say, spare parts, the products, the supply chain, right? Because we are a supply chain intensive company, and that is where availability and kills us. And really it's the predictability, right? So you don't know when is something happening or not happening. So for us the challenge has been to manage this whole piece, and where it affects us, and where we have when the when last year when the pandemic happened, and I say this often, it was just like the lights went out, and suddenly there was no torch, and there was no manual on how to navigate, right? You had nothing, and it was an event that was unprecedented. People suddenly shifted to homes, there was a lockdown, and initially we struggled to support our customers, but then people rose up to the occasion, and that is where innovation comes in. I've seen so much innovation happen, whether it's medical or companies, so much small innovations which have happened, which have helped us. So for example, when during early days when customer support was tough, once we got our bearings, we started opening up to other brands, saying that, hey, if you have a simple issue with another brand, maybe we can help you even there. Or someone had a bright idea saying that, why don't we have mobile vans where we send near our customers, and if they have a problem in the PC, right, they can go and fix. I know of customers who use desktops, right, who had to actually carry desktops, where people had to carry desktops to the employees' homes, right, because that is what they were working on. So it has been challenging, and the second wave has, while people are more prepared, I think it's been a stronger knock on the stomach. But yes, I think on a business continuity, it is there, but the mental health here has been particularly challenging, because like Mr. Nikhil said, a guy may be there on the call with you, on the video with you, but you don't know what's going on his mind. I'm aware of people, who have been on the calls, and we, after the call, we got to know that they've lost someone in the extended family. Right? So it's been a particularly challenging time, but the way people have responded to this, hats off to them. But be a challenge, and we'll need to innovate and come out of it.
Right, right. Thank you, Nikhil and Aditya.